and gentlemen, Dorothy Productions proudly presents the video artist of the 80s, Dorothy. This beautiful and talented daughter of a warped coal miner and dispossessed French countess obliterates all imitators and is in a class of her own. Dorothy writes and arranges all her own material, and in her own words, wants to entertain and bring fun and glamour back to music. Now, to the miracle of video, Dorothy can share with you the flights of fantasy. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, America needs Dorothy.
My name is Laurice, and I was an international recording star. And this is my story.
So, Laurice, how was the USA? Did it treat you well?
Well, Larry, if the UK and Canada were up and down, the USA was a roller coaster. It really was. Maybe this was not a good omen, but United Airlines, when I flew to LA, lost my luggage. In fact, it was flown to Athens, Greece. Isn't that nice?
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that.
Yes. And they compensated me for a week with a toothbrush and some toothpaste. Not lucky. I still have them. I still have the case after all these years.
Oh my goodness.
I keep my music stuff in it. But really, I was without clothes for a week. So that's the way it was. Of course, I was lucky, actually.
Did they get your things back to you?
Yes, they did, Larry. They returned my clothes. I don't know how they found them. It was a miracle.
You got them back.
I don't know whether to be that lucky today. And yes, I got them back. And it was hard looking for somewhere to live, first of all.
Really?
I found a slum, actually. It was a slum. It was a house just off West Avenue. And it's pulled down now. But I got a room there, and I mixed with a bunch of really eclectic people there, and it was fun. Actually, it was a lot of fun living there a lot of the time. So I didn't have much money, so that's what I did. But I concentrated on promoting my music. I looked up all the agencies' managements, and I went to see a lot of them with some very, very good demos. One particular management company.
That must have taken some work.
Yes. One particular management company was very intrigued by my demos.
Really?
But they kept stringing me along, and I didn't know what was going on. Until actually Ralph, my former producer, was kind enough to step up and find out what was going on.
So that is interesting. So what is going on?
It turned out that homophobia ruled the roost.
Oh dear, that must have been very frustrating for you.
They said, oh, he'll have a few hit records and then that will be it. That's how they assessed my talent. It wasn't very flattering, but at least I knew but it was awful stringing me along. Maybe I should have fought harder, I don't know. But it looked like being gay was really a factor, really was an obstacle. As I was rejected by most of the management companies I went to see,
You could only deal with what you knew at the time.
it didn't stop me from songwriting. And I think all through the time I lived in LA, I continued with my songwriting,
Good for you.
even if I wasn't being recorded, although I did have some recording done at that time. I was very pleased about that.
How did you manage to do your songs?
I was able to record my songs throughout this period of time because I had a big old Marshall amp, I had a 4-track tape recorder, and I had a Shure microphone, and I was able to record. So I took at least one day a week off from work in the middle of the week at this time, and I was able to compose and record. Of course, I did weekends too. I did it throughout the 80s, and in fact, I did it after John died when I finally got myself back together. I mean, grief takes a long time to get over. You never really get over it, but I tried. And I can't write when I feel miserable. I just can't. I'm the sort of person who can write when I'm feeling good. You know, that matters to me. But I managed to record a lot of songs, which I eventually managed to videotape. So I'm really pleased with that.
Well, that is encouraging.
Thank you.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Oh, yes. Well, yes, what I did was I explored various genres of music that I hadn't explored before.
So what kind of songs did you record?
Oh, well, for instance, Motown.
Have I been right? Have I been right? Have I been right? Ooh, yeah. Have I been right to touch you? Have I been right to hold you? Have I been right to never mind? Ooh, tell me, baby, have I been right to touch you? Have I been right to hold you? Have I been right to make you mine? Have I been right to touch you? Have I been right to hold you? Have I been right to make you mine?
That track was very successful, Laurice.
I really enjoyed that. Then there was smooth jazz, which I loved as well.
I invested all my time in you, but the thing I dreaded most came true. Found you out, no more games, I'm over you. Just play the cool, so cool. Just how long?
In the 80s, smooth jazz was very, very popular. It sort of melded into new age, which was really good for me.
Yes, smooth jazz was very relevant. Anything else?
I did some pop stuff like Crazy. That was fun. I eventually made a video of it for Halloween, which was great.
When I look into your eyes, I can feel the pressure. I can see through your disguise. I can sense the danger. Then you move
I love that one, Laurice.
There were many genres that I took on, and I'm glad to say they worked quite well for me. So I was happy about that.
So, Laurice, how did you survive in Los Angeles at that time?
I kept pushing my songs out to record companies, but I had to live.
Did you do odd jobs?
Yes, I did. Yeah, I became a dog groomer for a month.
Oh, really?
Ooh, that lasted a month. You try lifting a big dog into a basin of water to wash it. I'd try it. Cat. Ooh, they do not like it. I got strapped to death. I thought, enough of this, you know. I became eventually a house cleaner.
Oh, really?
For a couple of years. I had quite a few clients. The money wasn't bad. It was hard work, but I did it. It was good exercise as well, so that was how it was.
Well, that is quite an accomplishment, Laurice. What about your gay activism at that time?
I didn't leave my gay activism aside at all. I remember that I went to a Malibu fairy circle. It was a retreat, supposedly for men.
A men's retreat? When was this?
It was, I'd say, early 1980. And it was a bunch of straight men and gay men. And we were supposed to commune with nature and all that kind of thing.
I see.
It was supposed to be really wonderful. And unfortunately, it didn't work out that way at all, because some of the straight men insisted on bringing their girlfriends, and that did not go down well with the rest of the community there. They really did not like it. In fact, hostilities broke out between them, and it wasn't pretty.
That's a shame.
It really wasn't. Oh, there was one wonderful thing there that I really, really enjoyed. And that was that one night we were all bunked in these sheds, you know, little sheds. And I got up one night, it must have been about midnight or so, and it was a beautiful warm Malibu night. And I walked down this steep path to the beach. I was the only person around, and I lay down by the water there on the sand and looked up at the stars, and it was something straight out of a Hollywood movie. It was absolutely wonderful. I really enjoyed it. It was heaven.
That sounds spectacular, Laurice.
Oh yes, I never did that again, but it was wonderful. I went to Malibu quite a few times to swim. I did, but that was the one night I spent in Malibu that I loved. So that was the fairy circle. It broke up, and it was not, from my point of view, it was not a success, unfortunately.
I'm really sorry to hear that, Laurice.
But I didn't let my gay activism lie down like that. What I did was I involved myself in the Lesbian and Gay Center in Hollywood for quite a few years. I attended some of the men's groups and tried to do a little bit of volunteer work there. But unfortunately, as AIDS struck in the early 80s, a lot of the men were dying and the women took over, and there was a lot of enmity between the men and the women there because the women were taking over everything. There weren't enough men to staff, actually. It was really an awful situation. And I believe, you could quote me if I'm wrong, a lot of men walked out. So there had to be an equilibrium established after that. But I was there during that period. It went from good to bad, actually, for me.
That sounds quite distressing. HIV/AIDS really did take a toll, I know.
I realized in the end that I couldn't be involved in the center. They were cutting a lot of the men's groups out. I felt that I had to leave. I really did. So it was unfortunate, but unfortunately, that was the way it was.
Did you manage to get involved with any other gay activities?
I also involved myself in the gay drum circle with Parry Hay and all his friends and all his connections. And I'm very glad that I managed to meet, again, some of the luminaries in the gay liberation world. What I'm most proud of, though, and I have to say this, is that I made friends with the owner of the National Gay Archives.
Great.
Which at that time was based on Hudson Street, right in the middle of Hollywood. And I made friends with Jim Kepner, who was the curator. And if it wasn't for Jim, let me tell you, today, there would be no National Gay Archives. He was incredible. He was fanatical about it. And in fact, at one stage, Jim refused to leave the archives and was actually sleeping there.
Wow.
Until people managed to persuade him to find somewhere else. They didn't feel it was very healthy for him. Jim was a difficult man. A lot of people did not get along with him. He was so, as I said, fanatical about the National Gay Archives. But I got along great with Jim. And he allowed me to tape record conversations. I interviewed Jim, and I'm proud to say that I managed to interview him about his life and about how gay life was in Los Angeles in the 40s and the 50s.
Oh, really?
And the 60s before I even knew him. And of course, it wasn't pretty what he told me, the raids in the Black Cat and other stuff and how people were entrapped. And it was really bad. It wasn't great when I was there, but it was improving. And although I lived in East Hollywood at the time, I moved to West Hollywood, and I liked being there. I think what I can say about myself in those days, that I was determined to carry on with my music, no matter what.
Very good.
It really, really meant so much to me. It really did. And I'm very glad to this day that I stuck it out.
I understand, and thank God you did. So how would you sum up those years in Hollywood, Laurice?
What I did those days was I concentrated on composing, doing my music, being a house cleaner, and also my gay activism. The three things were quite important to me. The house cleaning for money, my music for my vocation, and also my gay activism, which was very important to me at that time. Always has been. I think it always will be.
Well, that's good, Laurice.
At that time, I managed to progress to doing temp work for various agencies. And after that, I became a legal secretary for a Beverly Hills company.
Oh, how was that, Laurice?
Was quite nice. At the beginning, the first 2 years were hilarious there. I really enjoyed that. It was a lot of fun, and I was learning the computer, learned how to get around on a computer, very early one. But I became quite proficient at that.
I see.
And then in early 1982, my life changed completely.
Oh, really?
And that was because I met my first partner, John Verdon. John was really something else. He was an incredible person. What a character.
How did you meet John, Laurice?
How we met was really amazing. I was in this bathhouse one March day, and I was really in a slump, and I walked into this dark room, and there was this massive motorbike stuck in the middle of the room with the light shining on it. I suppose it was ornamental. I didn't know what it was doing there. And suddenly I felt somebody behind me lift me up and say, "Oh, you're gorgeous," and start leading me upstairs to a bunk. I was like in shock. I didn't know what was going on. And he slumped down on the bed, and I was on top of him, and I looked at him and I said, I don't know. Bell started clinging. It was like a Victorian penny novel. Bell started clinging. The room started spinning. I said, "Who are you?" And he gave me this mysterious smile. I mean, for me, it was love at first sight, and I didn't even know. But it was just so strange. We talked for a bit. He wrote his name and number down for me on a little piece of paper, which I still have to this day. And that was it. It took a few months, and we were an item. John was with me till the day of his death. It was a wonderful relationship in many ways. Not everything was wonderful, but a lot of it was. He was a very good partner for me. We were very poor, in fact, so poor we went dumpster diving in West Hollywood. You wouldn't believe the stuff they left in their dumpsters at that time. We found a lovely apartment in West Hollywood, just up the road from our favorite place, the French Quarter. It no longer exists, but it was a wonderful place. It was in the center. It was like an arcade mall, like you had shops surrounding this restaurant, all inside, all indoors, and it was wonderful. The food was excellent. The shops were lovely, and it was just exciting, and it was like the heart of gay Hollywood. I mean, it was wonderful. It was just half a block down the road from where I lived. It was great.
I remember the French Quarter. It really was outstanding.
Absolutely loved it. I used to, with next door neighbors, we used to go there sometimes for breakfast in the morning. It was delightful. It really was.
Oh, yes. What happened with John?
John died in 1986. He had HIV/AIDS. He was very ill for a short time. He died in my arms at home. But I will never forget John. He was the most wonderful person in so many ways. And we went through a lot together. And he was tremendously supportive of my music.
Well, that was great.
He really was. It was really wonderful to see that. He really cared. So that's the way it was.
I'm sure he meant a lot to you, Laurice.
And then I have to tell you about Dorothy.
Dorothy?
Dorothy. Well, who was Dorothy? Well, let me tell you. I was very impressed with the 1982 film starring Dustin Hoffman. It was called Tootsie, and it was about an out-of-work actor who couldn't get work at all. So he posed as a woman and got a starring role in a very successful TV series. And I thought, well, why don't I do that with Dorothy in the pop world? And as you can see, we tried. It took a year to get Dorothy into shape. Just look at the pictures. But we did it. We took Dorothy out on a trial run, and we posed by a luxury car dealer in Sunset. We had a crowd around us. It was wonderful. I went out with John, my partner at the time, and also Paul, best friend, who was videotaping the whole experience later. He videotaped Dorothy, and I made an EP, an extended play record of Dorothy. We had like 4 songs on it, and one of them, Not Responsible for Loss or Damage, we did a full video on it. I'm so proud of it.
I'm not responsible for loss or damage to the
Amazing. Not responsible for loss or damage was quite an achievement, Laurice.
We made Dorothy look fabulous. We couldn't get anybody to back our project at the time, but I love Dorothy, and I think I love the songs. We did a Mae West Come Up and See Me Sometime. It was a sort of Mae West thing. I went to the film library to look up all her sayings and everything. It was great. And Sex Bomb, which was a really, really good song. I think of Tom Jones when with the Sex Bomb. I think my Sex Bomb song is just as good. It was very, very new wave. The whole thing was new wave. Dorothy. It was a great image, everything. And I'm so glad I did it. I'm really proud of the songs. So that was Dorothy.
Wow. Well, I hope you release Dorothy sometime soon.
Also, after John died, I wrote an anti-AIDS song. And I got it recorded by a girlfriend of mine in LA, the famous LA jazz singer, Gelsa Paleo, and she did a fantastic version of it. I'm really, really pleased about that because it was so good and so apt. It was called Stop Fooling Around.
There is something going on today. You know it's not too cool to sleep around. Just one night and you can die for love. You know it really, really gets me down. Stop fooling with your life. Stop fooling with your life. Stop fooling with your life. And stop fooling.
Great. I just loved the song. I really did. It was really good. Actually, after John died and I surfaced again after getting my grief together, I became a manager for quite a few singers in LA.
Well, that's interesting. What happened?
It was such hard going. I have to tell you, it was like pulling teeth.
I'm really sorry to hear that, Laurice.
None of them seemed to know how to take direction. Direction is very important. And you know that adage about people sitting by the swimming pools in LA waiting to be discovered? It's true. I'm sorry, people, but it is true. They really are like that. They really are. They sit by the swimming pool and expect to be discovered. Well, don't get killed in the rush. I have to tell you, it was ridiculous. But really, that was the mindset.
Oh, no.
One guy, I told him, he had a beautiful voice, and I told him, do not sing with your eyes closed all the time. You need contact with the audience. Well, I took him to a club, and it was a talent night, and he performed the song. Voice was beautiful, but he had his eyes closed all the way through.
Oh, no.
I was furious with him. And he came by my apartment building to talk to me, and we were by the swimming pool, and I fired him. And he just freaked out. And I said, I'm sorry, you don't take direction. You're not doing what I asked. And I said, you didn't have any contact with the audience because your eyes were closed. Nobody could really have any contact with you. It's such a fundamental thing to know about when you're performing. Well, I fired all of them. I'm sorry. I tried my best, but I'm sorry. Maybe it was me, but they just didn't cooperate at all. They wouldn't take direction. They were quite happy sitting by the swimming pools expecting to be discovered. I know it sounds ridiculous. I know. It's crazy.
Very good, Laurice.
Now, at this point, I want to tell you about a flashback to 1977.
Oh, really? Why?
Why? Well, Larry, it's because I was recording in New York in 1977, and I was caught in the July 1977 blackout in New York. I really was.
Wow, that must have been quite an experience, Laurice.
Oh, it was an incredible experience. I was recording at Jimi Hendrix's Electric Ladyland Studios in New York, and you went through the big doors at the entrance, and there were a large steep stairs leading down to the foyer, and then there were the recording studios. And I was busy recording in one of the studios. Ralph, my producer, was with me, Ralph Murphy. And all of a sudden, all the power went out. It was pitch black. It was pretty scary.
Oh, no, I'm sure it was scary.
Anyway, we all went into the foyer, all the artists who were recording in the various studios, including the famous drummer, Billy Cobham. And we sat on these it was like boxes. There weren't many chairs there. And we sat there in the darkness, and somebody lit a candle, a couple of candles, and there we were. However, what we didn't know was that Electric Ladyland Studios was built on an underground stream, and when the pumps failed, when the power went out, the water started rising into the studio.
Oh, my goodness.
And one of the technicians rushed to the toilets, was bailing water out. It was pretty scary. We didn't know what to do. So we sat there looking at each other, and it must have been an hour or two, and we couldn't get out because the electronic door lock was locked, at the top of the stairs. It was a big, heavy door. Somehow, one of the technicians managed to override the locks after about a couple of hours. Must have been a couple of hours. And we were able to walk up the stairs and go out into the street.
Well, that was good.
You wouldn't believe what we saw. People running around, looting, smashing windows, grabbing stuff. It was unbelievable. This was in the village,
Oh, how terrible.
And we were like, Laura and I were like, woo! We walked past the looters, it was incredible. And we saw on the opposite side of the street, there was a cafe. And we walked into the cafe, and they seated us, believe it or not, at a table right by the window. And there we were. They couldn't cook anything, so we got cold sandwiches and beer or whatever, and sat there watching the looting going on. It was quite incredible.
That is amazing, Laurice.
It really was. It was terrible. So anyway, it was time for me to go back. I was staying at the Y, and Ralph was staying at a hotel, I believe. But we both wanted to hail a taxi.
I gather it was getting dark.
Yes, it's very difficult. The taxi drivers were really scared of what was going on. They didn't want to pick up anybody. However, we managed to get a ride at last. And first of all, Ralph and the taxi driver dropped me off at the entrance of the YMCA.
It must have been quite a scene there.
Yes. Chaos ensued. I walked into the Y, and it was pitch black. People were stuck in the elevator, and my room was the end of a corridor on the 12th floor of the building. And there was no light. It was dark.
Oh my goodness.
Well, some enterprising gentleman lit a candle, and there was a load of us behind him, a group of people, and he led us up the stairs with this one lonely candle, and people went off at this, just disembarked on their floors. However, we had to count.
You had to count the floors?
Yeah, we had to count all the floors because we couldn't see anything. And I counted up to the 12th floor, and he left me there, the guy with the candle and other people. And it was a pitch black, dark corridor. I knew that my room was right at the end of the corridor at right angles to all the other doors. But I couldn't see anything. I had the key. Fortunately, I'd forgotten to give it in at the counter, so when I went out, I had it on me, thank goodness.
Well, that was good.
Yes. So I felt my way through the doors, along the corridor, to the end. It was unbelievable. I managed to put the key in the lock, pitch darkness, and I got into my room.
It was a really good thing you had the key, Laurice. Without it, you would have been really stuck.
It was so scary. The whole thing was really something. But there I was, in the blackout in New York in July 1977. And I will never forget that experience.
Of course you wouldn't.
No, of course not. But I wanted to tell you about it because that was a New York experience, not really a Canadian experience. So I wanted to put it in my USA coverage of my life. So I hope that's okay. It was quite an experience.
Well, that's understandable, Laurice. What a story. So you continued with your music.
I found a manager, Dan Aronson, a friend of mine. I recorded a song called The Hotline. It was a dance song. We did the 12-inch version too. And the radio stations in LA wouldn't play it because it wasn't black enough, it wasn't white enough, it wasn't what enough. It was about the sex phone lines at the time, which were very big.
Oh, I know it.
And everybody loved it. It's become sort of a classic, particularly the photo of me with the banana on the 12-inch version of it, the 12-inch package. It was album. It was It was a lot of fun to do, and I'm very proud of it to this day.
Really?
And I went on a show called Gay Talk in West Hollywood, and I was interviewed, and it was a lot of fun. And then I performed the hotline on the show, and it came out really well. I was very, very pleased with that.
Don't like a hunting all alone. Reach out and use the telephone. There's someone waiting just for you. One line connection puts you through.
Hello? Hello there. This is the hotline. Are you lying down comfortably? Then we'll begin. Use the hotline. Satisfaction guaranteed. Use the hotline. Fulfill your private fantasy. Use the hotline. For the pleasure of the pain. Use the hotline. Life is just a cool game. Use the hotline. Ooh, baby, you're good. You get good phone. Very good phone. Use the hotline. Tell me more. You're getting me all excited now. Use the hotline. Really? I've got 2 of those. Use the hotline. Tell me, baby, what's your sign? Mine too. We must get together.
Yes, it's a cult classic, Laurice.
I did get the performing bug back, which was great.
So that is interesting. So what is going on?
And I performed at the Tom of Finland first Tom's Bar exhibition of Tom of Finland's work in LA, and I sang a song that I composed for the performance called Such a Man. And it was a hailing of Tom of Finland and what he's done for. He was the biggest male artist from Finland, gay artist from Finland. So just a wonderful, he was a wonderful artist. And as I was public liaison for the company and for the foundation, Tom of Finland, at that time, I was able to perform it as one of the songs when I headlined at the Roosevelt Hotel for the Pantheon of Leather in February of 1992. It was great. I sung Such a Man.
Such a man, build a lifestyle we could share. Brothers, sisters, on your knees, and pay respect to one who sees the pride, the passion, the ecstasy, created so his man could be the gods that fire our fantasies. Such a man gave this beauty to us all, the power and drive to carry on the vision and the dreams of such a man. Gave this beauty to us all. Such a man gave us power to carry on. He gave us strength. He gave us life. He helped our brotherhood unite. We must protect these gifts he gave. We owe our future dreams to such a man.
And I also recorded a song written by myself and Ken Darling called The Price of Sin. And that was quite something. We really enjoyed it. It went down very well. And it was great to be performing at the Roosevelt Hotel. That was quite something. So that was really nice.
goodness. Wow. So that is interesting. So what is going on? Anything else?
In the summer of that year, I also performed at Gay Pride, and I performed a lot of my own songs, and I performed one or two of other people's songs. I was very proud of the performance and lucky to have it videotaped.
The last song I want to sing is one that I didn't write. I don't usually sing other people's material, but in this case I will, because it happened by accident. I was asked to play a Bobby Brown song, and I thought they meant the Elvis song of the same title, so it shows you where I was at. Anyway, it came out really well. Okay, Jenny, you can start playing the tape. I want to dedicate this to all of you, but particularly my friends and my leather friends. And Dan, Neil, Mike for videotaping, and Woody, thank you for being here. You know this song. If you want to, join the chorus. You know it can't be fun sitting home all alone. You can't come around at the telephone. Don't be cruel to a heart that's true. Yeah, don't be cruel. Why should we be apart? I really need you, baby, baby, baby. Cross my heart. Don't be cruel, don't be cruel. Why? Don't be cruel. Don't be cruel to your lover, baby. Don't be cruel. Don't be cruel to your lover, baby. Don't be cruel. Don't be cruel to your lover, baby. Don't be cruel. Don't be cruel to your lover, baby. Don't be cruel. Yeah, thank you and good night.
Yes, it made for a good video, Laurice.
And I'm really enjoyed performing again. It was quite something.
That's marvelous, Laurice.
So, my music all through the 80s and early 90s was pouring out of me, and I was all geared up.
Oh yes, that's quite spectacular.
It was great.
I'm so pleased to hear that, Laurice, and I'm sure your fans feel the same way. Nice for you to perform at Los Angeles Gay Pride. Anything else from that particular year?
I met Larry.
You met Larry. That's me.
Yes. Well, it had been 6 years since John's death, and I consciously wasn't looking for anybody ever again. But I think that once you've had a successful relationship, you subconsciously are spoilt for that. And although I wasn't consciously looking, I met Larry 6 years afterwards in 1992 when I'd begun performing again. What happened was I was taking a visit to San Francisco via Yosemite, and some friends said, "Oh, you must look up Larry in Fresno." I said, "Where's Fresno?" And they said, "Oh, it's on the way." So we weren't able to meet going up, but coming back from San Francisco after Yosemite, which, by the way, it was so crowded, it was horrible. Anyway, I met Larry, and I think it was almost like love at first sight again. I saw his kindness and his gentleness. I mean, they really were something. It's difficult to explain.
Thank you.
But I knew that he was the man for me.
Thank you.
I went back to LA and we kept in touch.
We did.
Larry came down for the Christmas holidays And I told him that I wanted to leave LA. I'd had enough of LA and all the craziness there, but I didn't want to move out of state. I liked California very much at the time. And he said, well, I have a spare room. Why don't you become roommate? I thought, oh, okay. But I thought, roommate? Well, so I moved up on a very, very foggy December the 31st, which we take as our anniversary, and been together for 30 odd years. And it's not been an easy relationship. We're two very different people. But as I said, his kindness and gentleness drew me to him. And I'm very, very glad of that. And I stayed in Fresno for some years. We moved around a bit from Laurice's house to a rented house, and then we moved to Canada. But before that, I performed at Fresno Gay Pride in 1994, and that was fun. It was a little early in the day when I did it, so there wasn't much of an audience, but it was nice. And I did a cover of Carole King's It's Too Late. It was a reggae version, which I have released on YouTube, if you'd like to hear it.
Stayed in bed all morning just to pass the time. There's something wrong here, there can be no denying. One of us is changing, or maybe we just start trying. Yeah, 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 but it's too late, baby, now it's too late. Though we really did try to make it, something inside has died, and I can't hide, and I just can't fake it. Oh, no, 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 it's too late, much too late. It's too late, it's too late, it's too late, much too late. It's too late, it's too late, it's too late, much too late. It's too late, it's too late, it's too late, much too late. It's too late, it's too late, it's too late, much too late. Much too late, it's too late, it's too late, much too late.
Very good.
It was, as I said, a lot of fun. There was various other performances I did.
Am I fool enough to break this heart of mine again? Am I running from my feelings? If it don't work out, what then? Am I fool enough to break this heart of mine again? Am I fool enough? Am I fool enough? Am I fool enough? Am I fool to break this heart again? 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 Am I fool enough? 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 Am I fool?
I was working for Barnes & Noble in the children's department. I'd written a children's book, and I happened to be asked to read a chapter of it to children at Barnes & Noble. I did that, and the manageress was so impressed with me that she asked me if I would head the children's department.
Really?
And I said, well, that's great. Yes, I will. So I worked there for a while. which wasn't fun because they fired our wonderful manager.
Oh no.
And it's sort of a fascist takeover there at Barnes & Noble. It was really awful the way they were treating the staff. It was pretty bad. So after that, I became very ill with a non-specific autoimmune deficiency disease of my ankles where I couldn't walk. And eventually I had to use a wheelchair because I couldn't walk anymore.
Oh
and
no.
that lasted for quite a while. But while I was recuperating from that, I decided to go back to my music and write something different, something I hadn't done before, a smooth jazz new age album. And I did. Larry gave me the room to write it. I wrote it in his sort of enclosed garage on a synthesizer. It was called Echoes. And I think it's one of my best recordings, the whole album actually.
It's a beautiful album.
Came out very, very well. And I released it in 1997. And I'm very happy with the album. It wasn't a big hit or anything, but it was produced the way I had it mastered. It was mastered very, very well. I had it mastered in San Francisco, and it took 3 times before they got it right, but they did. And I'm very, very proud of that album.
Is that your knock on my door? Like so many nights before? Or is the dark torturing me? Now I'm alone. Hear footsteps down the hall. Maybe you've come to call. Echoes remind me of you now that you've gone. Echoes of love, echoes of pain, piercing my heart, drive me insane, wanting you so.
And in fact, I remember going to San Francisco where I was promoting it the day Princess Diana died, and that was sad. So that's what I did in Fresno. It was fun. I was in Fresno for quite a while. In fact, I was in California for quite a while. I think over 14 years. So that was a long time after living in Canada. Also in Fresno, my gay activism didn't stop. We marched against the war in Iraq. I joined Fresno Gay Strong Group, and we did quite a lot to raise activism and awareness in Fresno. Fresno at the time, and still is, a very right-wing city. I mean, it really is really the center of fundamentalism in Central California. In fact, in California proper.
Unfortunately, that's correct.
So Fresno County is sort of maybe an outlier as far as California is concerned. And it wasn't easy living there. In fact, while Larry and I were living in Fresno, we were actually firebombed.
Yes, we were firebombed.
With Molotov cocktails. That God, it was very scary. We had the police come around. It didn't damage much as far as the building, the house was concerned. But it was frightening. Even then, in those days, gays weren't particularly safe. So you need to know that, because things are worse now, maybe. But we experienced it then.
I think that is right.
And Larry had to move from 1 to 2 to 3 jobs. And I think, and was unspoken, but because he was gay, I think that didn't help his opportunities there. It was bad. It was sort of under the covers, as it were, but it wasn't spoken, but it was almost spoken.
It's true. It's true.
And I felt terrible for him. I worked for the Fresno Bee in 1997. I worked there for about 6 months. I'm glad that I had the experience, but it wasn't a very happy experience there. Again, you have this terrible kind of undercurrent of, well, I can only describe it as fascism, right-wing fascism, that went all the way through in Fresno, and we were always having to fight it. It really was pretty bad. The one thing about Fresno, it had some good gay bars, and that was nice to meet other people. There was a leather bar, there was a lesbian bar, there was an all-persons bar, and various ones when I was there and when Larry was there. And we took advantage of whatever gay activities were happening at the time. And that was good because it was all part of our gay activism, but it wasn't like it was in LA. It was much more concentrated, and you couldn't walk down the streets hand in hand or anything like that. That would have been suicide there, I think. But anyway, that was Fresno. And Larry and I lived in Fresno for quite a while there. Let me see, I was in Fresno for about 8 or 9 years before we decided to move. Other things in Fresno, we made friends, so it was nice. Other than that, all I can say is I regard Fresno as the Bible Belt of California, which it was. One thing that was really, really nice was the Blossom Trail, which we used to go on, the Blossom Trail, when in early March or late February, spring arrived very quickly in Fresno. And all the flowers came out in bloom, and all the cherry trees and apple trees and orchards were in bloom. And we would go on a trip and look at them. It was very, very lovely. And one of the things that Fresno County can boast of is they have these beautiful orchards and the biggest peaches you could ever find anywhere. Absolutely delicious.
The Blossom Trail is gorgeous. That's a fact.
So that was Fresno in a nutshell.
It was a difficult time for us.
Very fundamentalist, very religious, but gay life still mattered there and still does.
So, Laurice, we need to tell the audience why we left Fresno and the USA for Canada.
So life has ended all alone. Reach out and use One line connection puts you through.